Hello, everyone, and welcome to Just Say No podcast. I'm Kayla Winters. I utilize she, her, her pronouns, and I'm here today with my amazing co-host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Winters. I also utilize she, her, hers pronouns, and we are so excited to have you back with us today for another episode. In this episode, we're going to dive into rejecting and what that process has looked like for Kayla and I.
Along with that, we feel it is super important to acknowledge the privilege that Kelly and I hold. As we move forward, neither of us want to cause any harm with our podcast as we explore a range of topics. We are both white women born in America, come from a middle-class, single-family home. We both have a college education, are in heteronormative relationships. We utilize cisgender pronouns, are able-bodied, and neurotypical.
I completely support this, and thank you for acknowledging the privilege that we hold. We also want to hold space to acknowledge the stolen Native American land that we are recording this podcast on. We are located in Orange County, California, which includes the Tongva, Juanino, and Luiseno Native American tribes.
Thank you, Kelly, so much for that acknowledgement. Again, both acknowledging our privilege in the stolen Native American land is just such an important piece of us moving forward with this process of rejecting, seeking, and changing on our own journey. So thanks for listening. So again, today we are jumping into rejection, and we want to remind you guys all that this process that we kind of run through with the Just Say No podcast, with just saying no in life in general, is this process of rejecting, seeking, and changing. And so we are really going to be honing in on the rejection piece of just saying no. We defined rejection as allowing ourselves to remove power from, to dismantle, to unlearn, or disarm patterns. And so that is something that we really walk with ourselves as we go through this process. And today, Kelly and I wanted to ask each other questions and kind of interview each other about this rejection process from our perspective. And so we've each prepared 2 questions each to ask each other. And I'm going to go ahead and start us off today by asking Kelly a question. And I'm really excited to dive into these. So in a previous episode with Amira Stanley, this was our first special guest, which was amazing. And you had really opened up to us about you starting this process of being an anti-racist student and embarking on this journey of like rejecting white supremacy and being anti-racist. What do you have to say to someone who is brand new on their journey of rejection and whatever that may be? I know there are so many like various like degrees of rejection, but what would you say to someone who's just starting?
I think as I went along this process in the beginning, you were always there for me to bounce stuff off of and be like, Kayla, I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. And I just remember you always asking me why. Why are you scared? You're a student. You are showing up to learn. Your intention is not to cause any harm. You're here because you want to be a better person. And I think that helped me so much push through my fear, anything that was holding me back, to be yeah, you know what, you're right. I'm a student and that's how I'm showing up. And I think that the way you did that was beautifully. And so I think that I would just piggyback off of that and just ask someone why, break down exactly why you want to start this journey. Why do you want to begin rejecting for you? Because for everyone, it's also different, I think through that process of asking them why is to deepen the root of why they're showing up and why they're choosing to reject something in the first place. I think after that, definitely to offer compassion through someone's journey, because again, no matter what it is, for me becoming an anti-racist student, anything, it can be so scary to be actually, I don't want to live in this reality anymore. And so I'm going to change. That is terrifying. And so I think also just I would also offer like compassion and empathy towards people because, again, like we're all learning and we are all showing up as students no matter what it is.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot easier to offer that compassion when you have that why. Like, I'm
Totally.
doing this because I'm actually trying to make a difference in my situation or make a difference for other people or whatever, again, whatever the why is. And
Right.
again, there's so many varying degrees as to like what rejection is and what that process that you might be going through. And I think just like getting, like you said, to the root of that, I think it's really
Totally.
beautiful. One of my favorite sounds right now on like Instagram reels or like TikTok or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is like, it's like a little tune and it's like sucking at something is the first step
Oh, yeah.
to being sort of good at something. LOL, can't sing, but it's fine. But I really feel like that is so true with anything really,
Right.
but especially when it's like rejecting is hard.
Totally.
Rejecting is not easy. And I feel like giving yourself that love to be like, yeah, I'm going to suck at this in the beginning and I don't know what I'm doing. And just like owning that
Totally.
makes it so much easier to continue to take steps towards getting better. Like, I have perfectionism tendencies for sure. And like, it's really hard for me to like not be really good at the beginning, but that's the point,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
So for me personally, like that's what I would say to someone. Like sucking at something is the first step. Like just suck at it.
Right.
Just suck at it, but at least like do it. And of course, do it with awareness and with the intention of love. I'm not saying that you should just be like going out crazy, again, depending, like for example with us, like acknowledging privilege, right? Like we need to hold that awareness with ourselves as we embark on the anti-racist journey, like having that awareness, of course, but you know, it's okay to like not have it all figured out and to be
Totally.
learning and whatnot along the
Of
way.
course.
So
Also, like the further process down, like as you don't know, like the next step is like seeking again, where you will like
mhm,
find education and find community and find mentors to where you will learn. And so it's again just like
mhm,
taking that first step, you know? So,
absolutely
yeah. So,
beautiful.
my question for you is since starting Just Say No and interviewing our three amazing guests that we've had, have you started rejecting something new?
That is a good question. I don't necessarily think that I've rejected something new. Um, if anything, it's like deepened my need to seek.
Mm,
I feel like it's really like boosted my curiosity. Like for example, when Jasmine, like her call to action was for us to go read the Quran.
right.
Like I was like, damn, that's powerful. Like why aren't I? Why haven't I taken the time to learn about these other religions
Right.
or other perspectives or whatever it is? Like that, things like that have just like really made me want to deepen my need to understand more. And
Mm,
I think that maybe that's like a part of like rejecting maybe like a narrowed mindset. I don't know exactly what it is that I like. I can't really put the nail on the head of
right.
like exactly what it is that, because there is rejection that's happening in that, right? Like an
Totally.
internal rejection. But I think it's just really like piqued my curiosity and my need to continue to learn,
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day.
Totally. I
So,
agree. I was also going to reference like the episode with Jasmine and with like reading the Quran. After she said that, I never even thought about that in my life.
right?
Like, we were raised Christian
Hmm.
and I just have never even thought about like seeking out other religion or like being able to learn from other religious texts like that. And so
Hmm.
I'm like so with you on that, where I think, I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of like after these episodes being like looking at myself and being like, damn girl, you could use some work, you know? But I
Totally.
think that from this, I've really like also stemmed to seek more and to like
Yeah.
learn and like educate myself more. And I think that just like this is the whole goal of having guests on the podcast too. And I think that it's like so amazing that we can find it in ourselves, because I feel like that can like also reflect in like, this is like working, and this is like the, like we're reaching our goal here, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
as like us finding that, I feel like others can find that too. And so I think that that's really awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. And okay, maybe something else that I've also been seeking is from Tia's episode, just like really diving into like the love and care that I have for myself too. And I think that what's really beautiful about us talking about this too is I feel like it's really easy to take the perspective of like, I'm going to reject myself as a human. I think we've all like been through that process, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like why am I like this? Why,
Totally.
you know, like you can totally go down this rabbit hole of like self-hate and negative self-talk. And I think it's really awesome to take it differently and just be like, I'm here and I'm ready to learn. And I feel like this goes back to like just starting the journey, right?
Yeah,
Of like I'm messing up and it's messy and it's not perfect, but I'm here and I'm showing up with the intention to be better and do better
totally.
and to live better. So, yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I agree. So, Kelly, my next question for you. Um this is kind of coming from my like own personal question of like
Mm-hmm.
working through it myself, but I think one of the hardest parts of rejecting is really moving away from things that are in like our day-to-day life in our families
Mm-hmm.
in our living situations. And something that kind of came up is from someone that I follow on Instagram called Jay Mace, and they did a TED talk that was like basically encouraging people to not be polite.
Mm.
So, how do you go about not being polite and really rejecting in these situations that are hard,
Mm-hmm.
that are touchy, that are, you know, it's, yeah. Go
I feel
ahead
like this
whenever
is
you're
a great
ready.
question for me, especially as we've grown up. I feel like I'm definitely the person, especially like in our family situation, to be like, we're not doing that.
True.
I think not necessarily like the hardest part, but I mean, can be the hardest part for people is setting a boundary.
Mm,
100%. The first
mm-hmm,
step to, I mean, in a family living situation is to make it known to not only yourself, which is like the first step of being like rooted in it,
mm-hmm,
is to letting everyone else know this is where I'm at. Like, if you disrespect me, I'm out. I don't need that,
mm-hmm,
you know? I think that you and I have definitely seen situations like this in our family where we've had to be like, no. And
mm-hmm,
I think being the youngest sibling of you, RJ, and I, seeing you both grow up and live your life and be, I don't want to say like disrespected by an adult. I didn't want to stand for that. And so I haven't. I
mm-hmm,
just like, I know where I'm at, and I just don't let it affect me. And that can be really hard because a lot of times you have to remove away like emotional feelings towards people. That's like
mm,
probably the hardest thing, is having to be like, yes, like I love you, but I'm not going to stand for your actions, and I'm not going to allow you to treat me as less than. Um, and I think that that can often be really hard. And I definitely see, I feel like you often struggle with that, and it's not easy. You know, I like had to do it because like I was also like, when you and RJ left, like it was just me. And so I had to really create that relationship. I know we're talking about a specific person that you and I both know, but I don't feel like we need to drop names. But yeah, you have to just remove emotion from it and then set a strict boundary, especially with people who aren't good at following like boundaries of other people and who are often like repeat offenders of disrespecting people and getting in other people's way. You have to be so stern with them, like to a point where like you have to remove emotion from it, of like care for them, not necessarily like care of human being, like obviously still be a good human, but you just really have to be strict. You have to really like stand your ground, and just like know yourself and know like what you're like willing to deal with, I guess. I think that would be like the hardest part of it all, is like taking the emotion away and then like standing strong for yourself after that.
Yeah, totally. I think that that's really good advice. And of just like, I feel like if you know why you're doing it and can stand confident in that. I think in the past, for me personally, I feel like I was gaslit a lot as a child, and like my needs, like, you know, just get over it, move on, like
Totally.
you can push yourself, like that was kind of like the expectation that was set, like of like how humans are, which is like not at all the reality. I've found out the hard way. And because of that, have like now like workaholic tendencies and like have that expectation on other people, I've had to like learn to work through and reject myself. And for me, I had the privilege of being able to like physically remove myself from the situation.
Totally.
And from that, I was able to find my own feet in the situation, especially when it is like a family or like a mentor, whatever, that's like imposing some sort of ideals or expectations or whatever it may be. It's really hard, especially when you trust that person.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you are raised that like mom knows best or like whatever, and then you have to figure out the hard way, oh, they don't always know best, and that's okay. That's okay that you don't know everything, again, because we're human.
Totally.
But I'm having to figure out the hard way. And so I feel like I'm still really working on that journey myself of like, what does it really mean to not be polite? You know, I feel like I've made a name for myself in our family of just being like the annoying one who like speaks up about things that are important to me.
I see.
Maybe not necessarily to you, but you know, I'm willing to like speak up and stand up for like things that I think are wrong in our society. And then I have this like
Kayla came out. Let's see if we can get her back in here. Let me see. There we go.
Hopefully it's still going.
It's going.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So you were talking about,
so I was saying
like comfortable in a herd with people.
Yeah, and how we just naturally, even though we know something is wrong, you know, it's like we still go with the thing that's wrong. And I really want to empower you not to, even if you're the only person in your situation that
feels that way,
sees it differently, or even if you're the only person, like, and I think this is what's really powerful about like this process of rejecting, seeking, and changing, is the fact that it's not just like rejecting and saying no and just sitting there and being like stubborn. You know, it's like I'm walking away from something and I'm stepping into community. I'm stepping into educating myself. I'm stepping into all of these opportunities to grow. I'm not just yanking the roots out and planting it somewhere else. Like I'm getting the sunshine, I'm getting the nutrients, I'm getting the water, and then ultimately changing and blossoming into this beautiful whatever tree, flower, weed, whatever. But like you get to walk through this, and I think that that's what's really powerful. And I also just want to say that like rejecting is fucking hard.
It's so hard.
It's like, I think in so many ways, like we just say, yeah, just do it. right? Just say no. Like, but it's more than
Right.
that. It really is. It's so much more than that. And I think that giving yourself that time and space to like acknowledge that and hold that, like, this is way more than maybe I ever imagined or I could even believe or I could open my mind to at the time. But like, again, that's why I'm here and I'm seeking and I'm here to learn.
100%.
So
I also like
yeah.
find this process to be like self-love. Like a huge thing about this is like I'm doing this to take care of myself, you know, like removing myself from situations, from things that just like don't serve me anymore, to find things that do. That's self-care. You know, that's you taking care of yourself. That's you loving yourself and knowing that like you deserve better. And I think that that's something that always like really sticks out for me, like with Tia's episode, like taking your mindfulness, like your 5 minutes to have your coffee in the backyard. Or like for me at work, I've taken 5 minutes and I'll stretch and I'll just like meditate and I'll say affirmations to myself. That's self-care. Everything that you're doing is to better yourself and to take care of yourself and to ultimately like love yourself more. And that's something that I just like find so beautiful through this process that like anyone who decides to do it can find. So
absolutely. I agree with you. And reflecting on you saying that, I think a big reason why I've struggled in the past with like our family, like at home situation is like, I don't think I had that love for myself. I didn't. I know I didn't have that love for myself. I didn't have the confidence to stand up for myself. I didn't see that I had worth. And because of that, it made it so much harder to remove the emotions from it and like stand rooted because I didn't have roots to begin with. And so starting on that journey of like, as you start on this rejection journey, like you have to, why we do Just Say No podcast, I feel like in the beginning is because like we want to love on ourselves and because we want to choose ourselves. And I feel like that is just a really beautiful point, is like you're saying no because you deserve better, because you're worthy, because you can, because you have choices and you have options. And even though it doesn't maybe always feel like it, you do. So,
period.
boom.
I loved that. That was awesome. Very well said.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot it was my turn to ask a question. I was like waiting. That's so funny. Okay. Well, talking about like the process of rejecting, what do you feel like are the beginning stages that you endure to like truly start the rejection process?
Yeah. I was thinking a lot about this, and even just reflecting on our last kind of topic about talking about self-love and like self-worth and whatnot. I think the first parts of the rejection process are basically really shitty, and they're really awful, and they're not fun, and it's super ugly. If I'm just being honest, like when I started on my journey of like deciding that I loved myself, or you know, learning about anti-racism or like Native American tribes and everything that they've gone through, and like I could go on forever, like it's ugly. It's not cute. It is not. It is an atrocity. Like it is, I don't even have words to describe like how ugly it is in the beginning. And I think that it really requires you to buckle up and to see these things as they are, because that is the only way that you can truly do them justice.
Again, like
is to start
removing
by seeing them how they are.
Again, like removing the emotion from it.
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily. I don't think removing the emotion. I think like sitting in the emotion. You know, this like brings me back to something that Amira said, like sit with it. Sit in that shit. That is the first step. Sit in that shit. And again, it is ugly and it is hard. And like, that's why like you should not do it alone. find community, find people. Like, Kelly and I will be your people. Like, we're not even kidding. Send us a DM. Let us know. Like, we want to support you because we know that it's not pretty and we know that it's ugly. And I think that, you know, people don't talk about it enough of like really like how awful it is. Because I think if you had that like realization sooner, it's like a lot easier to say, okay, because I know this is going to be really hard, I'm going to get support in place, or I'm going to, you know, find all these things. But it's really hard to do that, if I'm being honest, when you're sitting in it, because it's just, it's depressing. It's hard. Anxiety comes up, mental health, like it takes a toll, if I'm being honest. And not see it like super dark, but like I also think that it's just the reality of like having to start this process of rejecting. It's just, you're rejecting it for a reason. Right. And to truly be able to reject it, I feel like you have to look at it in the face. You have to see it. And of course, you are more than welcome to have boundaries with that. You're more than welcome to take it little bits at a time. And we're not saying that you have to jump into the fire right away, but like, we're also saying that like, it's going to be hot. Totally. Regardless of like how far or close you are or in the middle of the fire you are, it's going to be hot. So, again, bring that compassion, love on yourself, know that you're supported, know that you are loved, and like, you will get through this.
100%. I feel like this like flows into our call to action so well. For anyone listening, just start the journey. It is so much better to reject and then learn, rather than sitting in silence and like knowing that something isn't meant for you. Again, like we said earlier, like it's so easy to say like just start, but on the other side of the whole process, you will look back at yourself and be so grateful. So absolutely grateful. So again, reach out. If you've never felt like you've been ready, there will never be a perfect time ever. So just say no and start your journey, I feel like.
Yeah. Look at it. Start to investigate, start to explore, maybe understand your why, see where you're rooted right now. Talk. That's such a great place to start. Just talking to other people about it, having conversations, watching videos. Like, there's so many things, reading books, listening to podcasts, like, just like listen. I think maybe that's a really great place to start too. It's too hard to actually take a step, then just simply stop and listen. And I think that that can provide you the means that you need to be able to move forward. So, yeah.
That was awesome.
We're here for you.
Totally.
We're here for you. And again, like, I just feel like I want to continue to say, like, you're not alone, because it is hard to, like, kind of end these things, like, on, like, more of, like, a stern note. But I also feel like it's just like, I rather know that something's going to be hard than to be just, like, completely,
blindsided.
Like, it's not easy, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. And it doesn't mean that it can't happen. So you got this. It is so important for Kelly and I to really enforce that this is a safe space. Again, giving ourselves grace, allowing ourselves to be present with these conversations surrounding change, surrounding rejection, surrounding seeking. Like, again, they're not easy. So giving yourself that time and space is huge. If you've just finished listening to this, again, I want to really encourage you to offer yourself some time to reflect, journal, have a conversation, and just sit with it. Just sit with it.
Remember, you can find this pod on any podcast streaming service. You can also find this on YouTube, where we upload the video version. Our episodes come out on the first and third Friday of every month. thanks for listening. And in case you didn't catch it, just say no.
Say no.
Period.
Hell yeah.
We killed it.